You turn me on, you're not too tall, you're not too short, you're not too round.
Greetings everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Nicolas Uncaged. Today's video is going to be a long one, so we're going to get going here. Can somebody wake up Nick, please? Thank you. Without any further ado, the 96 Michael Bay movie, The Rock. So at the beginning of our movie, Ed Harris, who plays General Francis Hummel, is vaguely hinting at his upcoming plan. He's a highly decorated war hero who over the years has lost countless soldiers, and due to these missions being secretive, they never received proper burials and the families didn't receive any closure, and he's grown sick of it, so he's going to take matters into his own hand and try to prove a point. And he's a phenomenal actor. This scene is really a piece of art, and is an incredible way to start our movie.
Please don't think less of me.
The plan starts with Hummel and a group of his men leading a raid on a naval weapons depot. Their plan is to steal some rockets, armed with weapons-grade ethyl methyl phosphonathoiodic acid. Thank God it's got a nickname called VX gas. And keep in mind, these are men of honor who think they're doing the right thing, so they use sleep darts the whole time to make sure that there aren't any casualties. Sadly, they do lose one of their own men, but he did know the risks. And finally, the reason we're all here, the man himself, Nicolas Cage. He plays Stanley Goodspeed, a chemist who works for the FBI.
Agent Stanley Goodspeed.
He puts on his 2001 A Space Odyssey spacesuit and does an unboxing video of the new baby doll to hit the shelves, now with sneezing action. Unfortunately, the line gets recalled because the sneeze liquid is highly toxic.
Bad news is that the gas is corrosive and it's eating our suit.
Alright, we've made it this long without me giving you trivia, so here's one. The assistant prop master of this movie, Skip Crank, great name, dressed as Nick Cage in a lot of the close-ups in this scene to defuse the bomb as him because Nick was afraid that he would just destroy the delicate prop and they knew that they had to film with it for a while. So I hate to break it to you hand fans out there, but these are not Cage's real hands. We do, however, learn about the miracle serum for VX gas, which is a massive needle shoved into your heart. This stuff just sounds like so much fun.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you fucking nuts?
If you thought Cage's hands were good, wait till you get the whole body shot. Now, Nick Cage and Michael Bay actually argued over this scene. Cage insisted he wanted to be naked simply to show that his character was at home and comfortable, but Michael Bay knew pretty positively Cage just wanted to show off his body and that he's been working out for these roles. So we get this shot. And we cut to Alcatraz Island, where the majority of our movie is going to take place. Obviously, it's long been closed, it's a tourist attraction at this point, but General Hummel knows that it's essentially an impenetrable fortress, and a great place for a base of operations and a place to hold his hostages.
What kind of fucked up tour is this?
So Hummel and his men secure the place, put some traps down, some cameras, making sure that they could be well guarded and protected while they're doing their business. And General Hummel, in 15 seconds, gets an entire room of adult men to poop themselves.
You've got 40 hours till noon, day after tomorrow, to arrange transfer of the money. I am aware of your countermeasure. You know, and I know it doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, you're right to look like that. Holy shit, he's terrifying. We're introduced to Commander Anderson, played by Michael Biehn. Add this character to the long list of soldiers he's played, but he just plays them so well, and this movie is no exception. But our characters are stuck in a dilemma. They can't come up with a way to break into Alcatraz, so they go and get the only guy who's ever broken out. James Bond. No, seriously, his character is actually named John Mason, but they drop like 10 hints throughout this whole movie that this is basically James Bond. He's crazy smart, he was trained by the British intelligence, he's so secretive he doesn't exist, and he's played by Sean Connery. It's James Bond. So for the rest of this video, I'm calling him 007 and you can't convince me otherwise. Nick Cage learns mid-scene it's going to be very hard to upstage Sean Connery.
I'm an agent with the federal FBI.
After he MacGyvers his way through this pane of glass, we learned that Mason and Womack have a history of sorts.
Womack? Why am I not surprised, you piece of shit?
We see yet again that Sean Connery can upstage Nicolas Cage with one sound.
You're on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know.
And we learned that fancy hotels have string dispensers. What is that?
Just clippers, no scissors.
No scissors. You've got to be kidding me, no scissors. I mean, did they tell Picasso no brush?
I am in love with this character. I wish they just brought him on the mission and he just reacts to stuff the whole time.
Oh, who did this to you? This is just not right. In fact, it's nasty.
So he gets his string rope thingy ready, and then once he looks like $1 million, he throws his old enemy off the roof. Now, they did this filming on an actual balcony, but obviously they don't need to close down the street below in order to film this shot. So there was numerous calls to 911 about a jumper or someone hanging on about a fall. Needless to say, the crew had some explaining to do, but once you see Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, I'm pretty sure you can get away with whatever you want.
All I care about is, are you happy with your haircut?
Don't leave. No. Stay with us for the rest of the movie. So our characters get in this epic car chase across San Francisco. Now, during the filming of this scene, there was actually a lot of issues between Michael Bay and the city in terms of permits and things like that. And this created a lot of tension between Walt Disney Studios and Michael Bay. There's a story on the commentary track where Michael Bay had to go to a meeting with these execs. And everyone knew he was about to get yelled at for this scene and all the issues that he was having with the city. So Sean Connery, who's a superstar at this point, asked if he can come along to the meeting. And when he entered the meeting room with Michael Bay, needless to say, the executive's jaws just dropped. Connery then proceeded to scold the execs and said, "Leave him alone. He's doing a great job. We're making a great movie. Trust us." I mean, what a cool thing for him to do. So due to some excellent sleuthing, we learned that Mason has a daughter in the city. And that's probably who he went to go see. I can't tell if Nick is spying on these girls or hunting them.
I rehearsed this speech 1,000 times on the chance that we would meet. Here we are. And I'm lost.
We get the cutest interaction with these two, and then the cops have to come in and ruin everything.
You broke out of prison again, didn't you?
FBI, ma'am. Father's working with us. He's helping us resolve a dangerous situation.
Nick Cage doesn't improv his lines for once. I wonder how long that's going to last.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Oh, well, that was short-lived. So James Bond's dementia makes him forget how he broke out of Alcatraz. In reality, it's just a ploy for him to get to go on the mission because he knows as soon as he tells them what they want, they're just going to throw him back in prison.
An incursion underwater to retake an impregnable fortress held by an elite team of U.S. Marines.
Yeah, we get it. You read the briefing. Good for you. So a lot of the soldiers in these scenes are actual Navy SEALs that Michael Bay hired. And because of this, Michael Biehn, who plays Commander Anderson, struggled greatly with his role. Not because he couldn't do it or he couldn't act, but because he knew he was pretending to be a soldier while telling real soldiers what to do. He said it was really hard to act tough and act like he knew what he was doing while looking at real soldiers staring back at him.
Thank you very fucking much, Mr. Mason. You put us into a room with no exits.
I love this movie, and I'm not going to question why this scene exists, or why the furnaces look like this, or why after this island not being used in years, the boilers are still on and working. When Michael Bay was asked about this, he said, quote, "Screw it. It's entertaining, don't you think?" End quote. Yes, I do think.
Welcome to the Rock.
Okay, by now you guys know that I like to nitpick a little bit. One thing that bugs me about this movie is Stanley Goodspeed is supposed to be an FBI agent. He's supposed to be trained. He had combat training despite how little of it, and he's in really good shape. But because he's a scientist, they just make him uncoordinated and like goofy and awkward for some reason, like this. I get that it's a bit of comic relief, but I don't know why, it just annoys me.
Something's not right.
I got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling on this one.
Wait, like how?
I got a bad feeling on this
Okay.
one.
Yeah, okay.
So the Bro Squad finds this device and they just assume they know how to dismantle it, even though Dr. Cox earlier in the movie says,
"It's custom made. Nobody knows about it, and nobody expects it."
They can't take 2 seconds to figure out how to properly get rid of this. See, this is why we need the barber. If they brought him along, he would have taught common sense into everybody. He would have said, "Wait, we don't know what this is. Let's not touch it." Or they could have brought Guy from Galaxy Quest. He would have been equally as good.
Is there air? You don't know!
But no, they touch it, the enemy finds out, everybody dies. You happy now? Good job. So now all we have left is Stanley Goodspeed and James Bond. And I have some more trivia for you, so listen up. I really like Sean Connery, but after researching this movie, he sounds like a tiny bit of a diva.
You piece of shit.
So when they started filming on Alcatraz, he refused to take the boat every morning to the island for filming, so he insisted the production crew build him a cabin so he could sleep on the island and everybody else would have to boat in. And also, fun fact, he would only do these scenes standing or sitting in water if the water was heated to 90 degrees. But over a series of a couple days, the entire crew began to catch stomach flu, and a doctor showed up on set to reveal that they basically built a big incubator for germs by keeping the water that hot for so long. So I get this is the height of his stardom, but it seems like a lot of effort to keep our guy happy. All that being said, they decide to stay and fight the terrorists and do their best.
I'll do my best.
Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Okay, I take back everything I just said. If Connery wants a cabin, Connery gets a cabin.
Carla was the prom queen.
Give Cage a cabin too. Cage, you want a cabin?
You must never hesitate.
We also learned that prison changed James Bond because he is brutal now.
Okay, that's just about the most awful thing I've ever seen.
But we find some rockets.
You've been around a lot of corpses. Is that normal? I'm having kind of a hard time concentrating. Can you do something about it?
Like what? Kill him again?
Okay, quick story time. In 2016, the Chilcot report came out. It talked about Britain's involvement in toppling Saddam Hussein's regime. And it notes that one of their agents was found to actually have falsified claims about observing weapons of mass destruction and nukes because somebody realized that he just based his description on what the nerve gas things look like in this movie. And I think somebody who's a big Nick Cage fan was like, hold on a second. That sounds super familiar. I'm assuming that agent's claim didn't make it into the final report. So a gunfight breaks out, and we jump through the laundry chute into the laundry mines of Moria. Where are we now?
I'm too old for this shit.
No, this movie's getting too long for this shit. Okay, we're gonna speed through this part. Alright, let's slow down. Is this still happening? Oh my god, okay, speed it back up. Okay, I think you get the point. It's long. Moving on. So because they're doing a good job messing up the plan, General Hummel threatens to shoot a hostage in an attempt to flush them out.
Oh, man.
James Bond says, I'll handle it.
Okay. What do you mean?
He turns himself in to buy some time, and if you want to see a masterclass of acting, this scene is awesome.
Name and rank, sailor.
Army, actually.
It's Ed Harris and Sean Connery just doing what they do best.
Personally, I think you're a fucking idiot.
While Nick Cage does what he does best, which is get into trouble.
Hi, sweetie. You're lucky that old man Hummel wants your life.
Because I take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
I'll take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
So while they're locked up, James Bond reveals that the reason he was in prison was because he found microfilm that contained top secret information on American cover-ups. And when they wanted him to hand it over, he refused, and so they just threw him in prison.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
But if you can break out of here once, you can break out of here again. But if you're with Stanley Goodspeed, you're going to get captured immediately. Thankfully, 007's going to stick it out to the end.
I decided I didn't want your child growing up without a father.
Meanwhile, General Hummel and the boys are having some conflict because Hummel never actually wanted to launch his rockets. He wanted to use them as a threat to get what he wanted, but the government is just stringing him along, and his men know that, but it puts him in a really difficult situation. Ultimately, he caves in, tells his men to launch the rocket, but his good conscience can't allow him to do that, so he alters the course at the last second. Meanwhile, the president sees these men are actually a real threat and orders an airstrike on Alcatraz.
What the hell are you doing? I'm not ready to kill these people.
And then we get another amazing scene of Ed Harris taking pretty generic lines and just acting the hell out of them.
I want to talk to General Kramer.
You've been asked by an old friend.
Put him on the phone right now.
You've been ordered by a superior officer.
This is Major Baxter.
Now you're being given your last chance by a man with a gun. Put the phone down.
And rightfully so, his men are pretty hot. But this scene gets way out of hand because General Hummel doesn't take into account that when he hired these people, they're no longer Marines, they're mercenaries. So they've been acting like mercenaries. And when he says there's no money, that doesn't sit too well with them. And thus the result is this bloody, unnecessary gunfight.
It's over.
In the commotion, our heroes manage to grab the general and find out where that last rocket is.
You know how this shit works? You know how this shit works?
This guy conveniently stands in front of the missile.
Do you like the Elton John song Rocket Man?
I don't like soft-ass shit.
Oh, you know.
But he doesn't like Elton John, so he's obviously not very smart, and he gets what's coming to him. So we get a couple more fights. And then this guy eats that little packet in the beef jerky bag that you're not supposed to eat. Finds out the hard way what that does to you. Goodspeed attempts to call off the bombing.
Stay tight, gentlemen.
But his timing was a hair too late.
Already dropped them.
However, he warned them in enough time they only dropped one bomb, so they didn't actually hit the prison with all the hostages, but they did hit the island near Goodspeed. Luckily, we got 007. That's why he's in this movie.
Are the hostages alive?
Every one of them.
I mean, you can't confirm that, but it's a nice sentiment.
What about Mason?
He's dead, sir.
And as gracefully as he entered our lives,
Mason?
he vanishes. Oh, but tells Nicolas Cage about that microfilm for some reason. And when the boys come and pick him up, he tells them that Mason was vaporized.
Vaporized.
Vaporized? A body can vaporize?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, sir.
Looks like this nerdy lab coat gets the last laugh after all. Before the movie ends, we get a little property damage in a church.
Wanna know who really killed JFK?
And we see Nicolas Cage's interest in American history grow, and the reason he decides to do the National Treasure movies. Okay, that's not true at all, but I can pretend. Thank you everybody for watching. Now because I found it at a used bookstore, the next movie we're going to watch is...
Okay, let's run.
Yeah, that's right. We're watching Gone in 60 Seconds. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you gotta do. And as always, stay happy and stay healthy.